give you a sense of what all the gear for 3 nights in the woods in the winter might look like. This is in Vermont, so of course, first things first, we've got the monster wood stove. The 22-inch long wood stove takes full-size pieces. We've got the Clam Outdoors thermal lookout shelter, so it's 9x9. We've got some flooring pieces that go in. I put down some moving blankets, fiberglass blanket that goes up behind the stove so we don't melt any tent. We're gonna bring some extras like the chainsaw this time around. It's just an electric chainsaw, battery source so that we can recharge anything that we need while we're out there. That's sleeping bag, sleeping stuff in the bag on the left, some jugs that I'm gonna fill up with water, a camp lantern. There's a chair tucked behind there, and inside of that tote is just all the things that we use all the time: pots, pans, collapsing wagon. So this guy is of course coming with us because I'm assuming we're gonna hit snow. This particular state park this year allows us to bring in wood as long as it's from the state of Vermont. So I'm gonna load in probably 2+ nights of wood, and then we'll split up some of these smaller pieces into kindling, put them in the tote.
Tomorrow through Thursday in Townsend, highs will be around 37, while lows will rise from 24 to 32. Tomorrow through Wednesday, it'll be cloudy. Thursday, there'll be rain and snow. 0.7 inches of snow is expected.
Oh, easy. And really should have put this in first, so it's gonna ride in the front seat with me. So yeah, this is the ultra heavyweight maximalized winter camping loadout for 3 nights in December in Vermont. Oh, that would have been bad. So those are hung up from last time. These are the ground sheets. These are what go underneath the tent so that I'm not just chilling on the wet snow. Oh yeah, a coat. Maybe I want a coat. Oh, come on. None of that. None of that. None of that. Ugh. Ugh. Ridiculous. Look at this. This is where I'm opting to set up. First thought is to set it up right in the site here on this flatbed. So there's a picnic table. And I like when they have the fire pits with the grates that flip down. Cook on these bad boys. But I like this spot. Looks down over the park. Actually can see my vehicle down there at the head of the entrance, which I appreciate. There's some other sites that away, but as they get kind of into the thick of the woods over there, away from this main area of the park, they get closer to the dirt road I came in on. So I think this one's the spot for tonight. So yeah, I'm gonna load up the gear and do my best to show you what it's like to ultra heavyweight sled pack on ice in a Vermont state park. My first load is just the main essentials like my sleeping bag, my shelter, my water, and my slippers. Don't really trust that I'll get far without traction. And I'll do that pretty much 3 times. So by the time I'm done loading in, I'm already pretty warm and usually ready for dinner. Pretty tempting. This is what would have happened to my body. Well, that's not bad. Ooh, that's bad. I don't know. Think we could have taken it? Would have won in a fight? Nah. Ooh, that tree would have got us. Woo! I mean, I think I could have gotten out by now, right? Drift. And if you were less adventurous, there are sites like right by the cars too. If you wanted. Load 2, I just decided to stinking go for it. I'll just bring it all up there. This is legitimately all the essentials for a night. 2 loads. Did you register? Seriously though, if you do want to request these, just the Vermont State Park website. They have a link to this year's form, and you just put in where you're going, let them know your plate number, so when you leave it at the entryway, they know why it's parked there for a couple of nights. You put in emergency contact, who's coming with you, and then usually within 24 hours you'll get an email back. I've never been denied an entry. I'd assume they'd just deny it if there was a situation like a repair going on at the park or a road closure or something like that. You gotta request permission, and it's free though, so request it. Just gonna stop for a second, give my legs a break. I'll let you go first. Fine, you go first. Made it. Pretty difficult setup. Here's how it goes. Step 1. You open the tent up. Step 2. But a little thought does go into it. You got your stove jack on one side. You want that clear of particularly pine trees. You don't want pine trees hanging down over the top of your stove jack. If you have a spark arrestor, shouldn't shoot sparks at the top, but if you're gonna catch a tree on fire, don't choose a pine tree. Shows this shelter because it's got all these windows. Like daytime in here. You shut it down middle of the day, it's like nighttime. It's pretty cool. So basically we just set it up. I'm gonna put the tarp down, covering every edge actually except for this edge where the wood stove's gonna come down. So I'm gonna shuffle that around and then put down moving blankets on top, and then I'll show you what we do next. A little bit of wind pushing in on these hubs, and they will pop in as easy as they popped out. I haven't had conditions windy enough to do that to us yet, but let's not try it. And just FYI, the quality of a tent spike in the winter does matter. These came with this tent. Regular tent stakes, like thin titanium tent stakes, they will bend and warp and potentially snap hammering them in, or they'll snap while you're trying to pull them out. So if you have a tent where, particularly like a teepee style tent, where your supports into the ground are basically holding up your tent, get a decent tent stake. The cheapest ones I found, they're heavy, but looks like a loop with an anchor at the top that is designed for holding down like a gazebo or something like that. It's similar to this. It's got a circular loop at the top, big screws at the bottom, and they're probably twice as thick and 5 times as heavy, but they're like $1.25 a piece. But yeah, regular tent stakes might send you packing out if one of them breaks or you just can't get them in the ground. So I like to put our wood stove here, right on the snow or the dirt. Stovepipe here with the door pointing this way. But before you put that up, I put up, it's like a Weldon blanket. So it's this fiberglass blanket, and I hang it right off of these hub supports. It's like a 4x6 foot blanket or something like that. I didn't really buy it with size in mind. I bought it like the day before, the first day I took this thing out. I almost forgot to get it. But I would highly recommend it. I don't know. Maybe you can get away with it if you put your shelter wall a little bit back behind where the stove is. But it's just, of all the risks to take in life, burning to death in a tent, I mean, it's just gonna make you look stupid, let's be honest. There's a big boy. Pretty uncomplicated. Zoomed out. What you're hearing crashing around in there is the false bottom in the stove, which is something extra that Micro sells for like 24 bucks. I recommend it. Otherwise, they say you should put sand at the bottom of your stove every time, and that just, to me, seems like a hassle. These 2 pieces of sheet metal, you just line them up one on top of the other. The idea being it protects the bottom of your stove, and it also gives there a little like gap of air underneath, so everything seems to burn a little bit more efficiently and start a little easier. These are the bits of stovepipe. They telescope together. You'll see there's some ash inside of it that came from inside the stove. But yeah, basically these all, in theory, slide right off of one another. So we'll go with these. Got 2 of them that just really, yeah, that actually went really smoothly this time. Usually 2 of those fight each other. These just stick together. When you're by yourself, this top piece, this is the spark arrestor, and it goes on the top of the chimney pipe. If you have somebody else with you, you can kind of like feed it out and they can cap it on. With this stove jack, I just kind of shove it in and lean it up on itself, go around and fix it. I'll show you that when you get older, because you're stuck to the ceiling. La 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 la. Yeah, just like that. Stove jacked out the top. This is like a silicone with a metal ring. It's the exit 2. It's for canvas wall tents. You probably could make your own, some sort of it. I've seen people make like $10 alternatives that are crafty with metal. I just didn't want to mess around with it and have some sharp edges that were going to cut my tent. So I just bought that thingy, and it's done a good job. It was sort of difficult to install. It definitely takes two people. But that's it from the outside. So I just slid that on the top before I put it up, because otherwise you won't be able to reach it. And yeah, that's home for a few nights. In the winter months, we lose the daylight pretty early. It's like 10 after 4 right now, and it's already starting to get a little dim out there. So I'm probably just going to get a fire going, throw my dinner on, and start settling in for the night. So I didn't quite get settled in until after dark, but here is the shelter all set up. And I've got everything arranged on the inside. Here's the fridge, the entryway, shoes. I just got things kind of stowed up against the walls for the most part, so I use the poles and beams around the place. I hook bungee cords over them and kind of use that as a hook. Bed, I haven't set that up because I'm just going to hang out for a little while first. Let's see if I can fall on my face while I try to get my slippers on. This is the pantry, all the dry goods. There's more in there than you'd think, because these are all dehydrated veggies, which I'm trying out some, well, kind of making up some recipes for. We'll see how it goes as we go. And then I use this old, this is just a closet organizer, but it was gonna make its way to the thrift store. Here we've got all the electronics, other random stuff. Here's my closet, toiletries, the recliner, coffee table, seat right by the fire. Pots and pans are just kind of living right there for now. Haven't really decided. For dinner, trying out some of these dehydrated vegetables. Seemed easy. Got spinach, onions, some peas, and a little celery in there. It's gonna let that hydrate, and then hopefully we'll still have enough water, or I'll add some more water. I got a whole jug there to boil a little pasta in there, and a little sauce on top. Easy peasy. About as simple as it gets. Transfer things over to a pot, try to get a little more surface area. See if we can kind of time it to boil off this water while we hydrate and cook the noodles. We will see. Forgot my spatula, so this is what I'm working with. Yeah, that works pretty good. Shave of the local cheese. Grafton. This is the scene.
get to bed, try to get up early, because I might try to hike Bald Mountain as early as I can. I don't know when the sunrise is, but if I can fall asleep in time, maybe I can see a sunrise from the mountain. It's pretty nice and toasty in the tent. Fire's raging. Well, it's actually dampered way back, but still too hot in here. So I'm on top of my sleeping bag under a fleece blanket, and doors are wide open on both sides. I don't know if you can see that, but I'll probably shut them down so they're just cracked, and then sleep on it, and then slide into this if it gets chilly. Good night.